You're listening to Odddio, where music meets the weird, the strange, and the unusual.
One of the most interesting of the many interesting stories of our civilization is the story of music.
Myself off the street, shuffling, dragging my feet, keeping my thoughts to myself. I don't need anyone else. I feel like I'm losing my mind, deal with this shit all the time. Think that you figured me up, that's just not what I'm about. I'm running into the wall, some things I just can't recall. Won't see me crying about, that's just not what I'm about.
Hi, I'm Ife Oshun, and you just heard the song Cardinal Sin by the band Somerset. We'll chat with them tonight about UFOs and aliens, and specifically Bob Lazar. Bob Lazar is a famous whistleblower, or infamous depending on who you talk to. He claims that he was hired, allegedly, by the government in the late 80s to reverse engineer what we would call UFOs at a secret site called S4, allegedly near Area 51. He claims he saw multiple alien craft, one of which he examined, and that ran on an antimatter reactor powered by element 115, an element which at the time had not yet been synthesized. Over a decade later, element 115 appeared on the periodic table. According to Wikipedia, he also claims to have read, quote, U.S. government briefing documents that described alien involvement in human affairs over the past 10,000 years, unquote, allegedly including the continual genetic modification of human beings. In the wake of his story, the government denied he was ever an employee, but later partially backpedaled when an employee directory was discovered with his name on it. The government says he was never employed in the capacity he claimed. However, there is at least one verified pay stub issued by the United States Department of Naval Intelligence containing Lazar's personal identifying information, along with official identifying numbers associated with verified classified military projects that show that he was paid and that taxes were taken out of his pay. These facts, along with other indicators that his past, such as where he went to school, had been erased, has renewed interest in his story. 2018 saw the release of a documentary about his life, and on June 20th, 2019, he was interviewed by Joe Rogan. On an interesting note, as of the taping of this show, Wikipedia, which can be edited by anybody, does not reflect any of the previously stated facts on its Bob Lazar page. However, it does speak about how he had trouble with the law and that his story was debunked. We'll talk about what he claims a little later, but first, let's meet Somerset. Hailing from Boston, Somerset is an up-and-coming rock and roll band inspired by 70s and 80s progressive rock and 2000s alternative rock styles. They recently dropped their self-titled debut album, and here they are with us tonight. Welcome, guys. Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
First, introduce yourselves. Let's start from you It's on my right, but it might be on the audience's left. So the handsome guy with the black t-shirt.
Oh, yep, that's me. So my name's Connor, and I play bass and sing the backing vocals in Somerset.
Dave, I play the keys, piano.
I'm Bobby. I am the guitar player in Somerset, one of two. Yep. And I write a lot of songs.
So we have three of us here. Unfortunately, our drummer, lead singer, and our other guitarist couldn't make it. And we're also jammed into a small piano practice room in the bowels of the basement here at Berklee School of Music.
Hey, that is all good. Well, Berklee School of Music, there's a lot of magic that happens there on a daily basis. So I'm pretty sure that over the next hour or so, you guys are going to really get to know each other even better than you already do.
Yeah.
So I know that you guys kind of started like when you guys were in school,
Mhm.
right? How did you guys get together as a band?
So that was actually primarily Dave and I, along with our drummer Jake. The three of us met our freshman year at Suffolk, so also here in Boston, Massachusetts. And then we added Sean along the way. Sean, our guitar player, and we comprised the house band over at Suffolk. We played from sophomore junior year until we graduated, and then through a connection with a previous band of mine, we picked up Nick, our lead singer, along the way. And then Bobby was a friend of another friend who went to Berklee here. And after jamming, I think one time, I invited him to a practice.
So you guys knew pretty much well, like right off
Oh,
the bat, that
absolutely,
Yeah.
he was the guy.
yeah, of course.
So would you say that there's been kind of like a connection between all of you as bandmates, like kind of from the start?
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
it's really funny how like we always often talk about how everything seemed to just sort of fall in place at the right time and just lead. It was like one thing led to another. So and so met so and so, and it
Hmm.
just all kind of fell into place for us to become a band and then start writing the record.
Yeah, yeah. Like the universe just gave you the blessing and you guys just took off and ran with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your
Yeah.
music has like an epic quality, like soaring vocals, kind of reminiscent of Creed, super funky guitar riffs. Tell us about your debut album.
So we released the record in October. It was a pretty long writing process. It took us a couple months to really kind of get the tracks to a point where where we really wanted them to be. And then we went to the studio, I think about 50 hours. We got a majority of the track done to a point where we were satisfied.
To the pedestrian out there who's never been in a recording studio, that might sound like not a lot of time. Is that true or is that a lot of time?
50 hours in the studio is gonna end up being 10-hour day after 10-hour day after 10-hour day of playing music, recording it and retaking things and changing things. Like it's kind of like you have to be on for that entire 50
Yeah.
hours because you're putting all of this work onto tape. Once that tape is out there, there's no changing it. You know what I mean? I wouldn't say there's a lot of pressure, but there is pressure to perform
Yeah.
in that 50 hours. So it can be draining. It can be really, really draining when you're cramped in one space for hours and hours at a time, day after
Right,
day.
right. And consecutive days at that. So by day 4, you guys are like just, oh,
Yeah.
It's an intense process for sure.
Yeah. A lot of fun though.
Yeah.
I can't belittle that. It's bringing your like artistic visions to life in that context. I haven't found anything that's felt as special as that.
Mhm.
So, in terms of your debut album and your plans for like the short term, you guys are going to be hitting the road, doing some shows.
Yeah, so no tours yet. That's something that
Not yet,
we'll hope.
but
Yeah,
we'll put
yeah,
it
not
out in the
yet.
universe for you.
Exactly.
Yeah,
We'll put it out
yes.
there. Yeah, we all work, full time on top of doing this. But I always say to people who ask me like what I like to do for fun that like it's pretty much just like I go to work and then we do band stuff,
Mhm.
and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, it takes up a lot of our free time, but I think in the best of ways.
Mhm.
And it's like my philosophy is kind of in manifestation, and I think the more you do it and the more that you just do it, things are going to manifest and happen how they happen.
Absolutely, the law of attraction. What you
Yes.
put out, you get out.
Yep.
Exactly.
Cool.
So we're just going to keep doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. So, yeah, then it kind of brings us to our topic for tonight, which is kind of out there. Now, I know you guys are very much into sort of like the UFO, like, if people see you on social media, they might see some memes and some jokes about it. And you guys definitely have some ideas about this. There's so many topics within this macro topic of UFOs. So there's one topic in particular, a guy by the name of Bob Lazar. I think that the idea of aliens and UFOs and extraterrestrials being among us and somehow being absorbed into our technology has been a fascinating topic. Some people believe it, some people don't. And then there's a lot of people who are kind of like in the middle. Why don't you guys tell me what you think about this stuff and we'll just have a conversation?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm more more of the mindset after recently I've always kind of been curious about, just the unknown and aliens and really anything of that, pretty much since I saw like the movie, like, what was the movie? Mars Attacks. That was a fun one.
Wait a minute,
back in the day.
With, like, the weird puppet aliens,
It was
or am I thinking of something
was it a
else?
George Lucas movie? It might have been, or it might have been Tim Burton.
I don't know.
It was
I think it was Tim Burton, but it was
right.
really bizarre.
the brain
comedy.
aliens.
Yeah,
right?
they defeat the aliens by playing yodeling music to them. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that would
that's
kill
a deep
anybody.
cut. But
No offense to the yodelers.
but yeah, no. Ever since kind of seeing that as a little kid, I was fascinated of like what could be out there. And then recently, I discovered a rather compelling argument of what I believe was called like the rare earth theory or the rare earth effect. And I was just telling the guys about it before we were talking here today, just of like this has could have hold some water as a theory, but essentially what it would be is saying that we, like, as a universe or as a planet, are unique in our situation, in our positioning in the universe among other universes, or in the within our solar system, and even just where we are specifically in our galaxy, that we are uniquely positioned to sustain life. There were I went down a super deep YouTube rabbit hole one night and just kind of discovered this, but that's been kind of throwing a wrench in my previously held beliefs of what if there's life out there.
So basically, one night you couldn't sleep, and you just kind of found yourself reading this stuff, and it just kept going on and on.
Yeah,
for
pretty
hours,
much.
And you just went down this rabbit hole, and you just were never the same after that.
Yeah, pretty much.
So you'd kind of consider yourself agnostic. You're kind of open to the idea.
Mm-hmm.
So Dave, what's your idea?
So for me, my theory on aliens and UFOs, it kind of stays true for the way that I think about a lot of things, including the paranormal, and even things in everyday life, like manifestation and just the way that energies work and the way that things are related, and just the way that the universe works. I am just super open to, I don't feel like I'm in a position to not believe in anything, because I feel like there's enough strange things that happen and inexplainable things and amazing things in the way that the universe seems to just fall in place, where I don't feel not arrogant, but like in a position to question it. Like I think that there are so many things that you could point to that's just like, how did that happen, or how does this happen, or like
sort of like déjà vu.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a
almost.
perfect example.
It messes me up on a daily basis.
Like, why is it that almost everybody across the globe has experienced this, but nobody knows what it is?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah, and it just sort of runs the gamut of, like, I feel like in any context there are strange things that happen, so I'm just here to observe and be a part of it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you're an open, like, you're just a vessel. You're just receiving
Exactly, yeah.
And Bob?
Well, when I was a kid, I was petrified of the concept of aliens. I remember watching the remade version of War of the Worlds they put out back in like 2004, like in my living room when I was like 7 years old, screaming and crying like, I don't want to see it.
Oh, is that the one with Tom Cruise?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was kind of like this sort of like, not a deadbeat dad, but just not.
Yeah.
But then, like, as I got older, I really started thinking about it. And once I kind of got to the place where I could kind of form these opinions, it kind of was just like, once it started, I went off running. And, like, the way I've looked at it is kind of like human beings as a whole, I almost feel like we like to feel like we know everything. We don't want to feel like there's other people around us because that's kind of scary, or there might be other life somewhere, but we don't know it, so therefore it doesn't exist. But there's just so much unknown in the universe that I just personally think it's super, super duper likely that there's other life out there, because the reality is all the matter that we're made of, that everything on Earth is made of, is the same matter that was released at the Big Bang. The Big Bang. However we do the Big
qualified
Bang.
we are to top on that.
Right, yeah, like none of us were really there, so.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But, according to the way things are described, that means all the matter that we have on Earth has been here since the beginning of time, and that means that somewhere else they could have had the same matter. They very well could have had the same elements, same meshing of moments and chemicals and
whatnot.
Evolution, whatnot.
Right. Yeah.
Fine.
It seems like it might be kind of a waste of space to have multiple galaxies and possibly multiple universes and just have like one inhabited planet.
Yeah, and it's
Seems
like
kind of limited.
right.
you look at Earth on a micro level too, and there's life at a micro level here. So like, there's no way that Earth is the only place where even on a micro level life can exist.
I mean, fair enough. I mean, look at our oceans. We don't even know half of the stuff down there. So,
Yeah.
it seems like between the three of you, you pretty much run the gamut from sort of like not quite skeptical, but sort of agnostic to, hell yeah, there's got to be something else out there too, kind of in the middle. Right. So I assume that you guys are all somewhat familiar with Bob Lazar. When he came out, it just kind of fueled like a lot of conspiracy theories. Like there'd already been like these theories about Area 51, right? Then he came out and people were like, oh yeah, this isn't real. And some people were like, oh my God, this is the truth. And then there are other people in the middle, kind of like you guys. Like a lot of people, I think, probably wanted to hear it because I think subconsciously as human beings, we kind of suspect that there's something going on. I don't know if it's a government conspiracy, but in terms of just other life and other possibilities, we kind of feel like there's something happening. So his story really captured like people's attention and people's imagination. All of this stuff was just sort of compiled in a movie that came out like last year. Bob Lazar, Area 51, and Flying Saucers. Did you guys see that?
I actually haven't, no.
You saw it?
Yeah, I think I saw the trailer and the first 20 minutes. I didn't watch the whole thing
So
because
you saw it.
So you saw
in all honesty, I fell asleep.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
That's not a comment on the documentary. That's a comment on my ability to sleep like a normal person, which is zilch. So
So this movie comes out, right? And by the time it comes out in December 2018. This guy, I mean, he's just eviscerated. Let's talk about what he says he was doing. Okay. Do you think that it's possible? Like any of you can answer this question. Do you think it's possible that whether it's Area 51 or, some other place, that there is a place where, there is alien technology that we have in our possession? I mean, are very broadly, meaning human beings, that we're actually trying to figure out, or maybe we have figured it out.
I mean, I always joke around with people and say it's 2019 and we have all this crazy cool technology. There's no way that the government hasn't invented a lightsaber yet, and I really want one wherever it is. So I definitely.
I want one too.
What little kid didn't have a flashlight in their hands as like
I want one that's like hot pink.
Yeah, exactly. That'd be so cool.
Haven't seen one of those in the movies yet.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, there's got to be technology out there that we don't, that we can't comprehend. But I mean, even like Bob Lazar, when he was, kind of doing his work, or trying to kind of reverse engineer the spacecraft or thing that he was working on, some element that like hadn't been discovered, and he like claimed that this craft was using it, and then years later they were like, oh, by the way, that's actually an element.
Yeah.
There could be...
It says it was first synthesized in 2003 and later named muscovium.
Sure.
Yeah. Rock on.
But yeah, and his work was in the late 80s, right?
Yeah, he claimed it was all in the 80s.
That's too much of a coincidence for him to be like, oh, there's this thing, and then years later we're like, oh yeah, he was right, or just like, that element does actually exist.
Yeah. And he also went into some sort of detail in terms of the actual beings. So I'm going to read it here. He identified the beings as gray aliens from a planet orbiting the twin binary star system called Zeta Reticuli.
Yeah.
Do you feel like it's a possibility, or do you think he's just been like watching too much television?
I totally think it's a possibility. I mean, you look at all these things that you can pawn off as coincidences, and it's like, I don't know. I mean, to what point are they coincidences, and to what point does there come merit with what's being said? Even to like ancient, drawings and carvings of things that we now know to look like spaceships and spacemen with suits. And it's like, I feel like there's so much out there that you don't have a choice but to keep it as a possibility, because as time goes on, things that were once crazy are now the norm. So it's like, what's to say that this isn't the same thing?
I think that's an interesting idea you raise. I guess back in like the 60s with Roswell, people just kind of went insane. I mean, it was like hysteria that there was actually, crashed vehicles and aliens, and they're dead, and they're testing them, and they're hiding them. And now, here we are, it's 2019. It makes you wonder, like, if we did without a shadow of a doubt, find out that there are extraterrestrials and that they've been among us in some way, shape, or form, would it really make any difference at this point? I mean, like, would we just be like, oh, yeah, whatever?
Yeah, I feel like that could definitely. I feel like it would be like so passe at this point. Like people are just like, ah, yeah, cool, aliens.
Maybe that's just what's happening. Is that?
Yeah, who knows?
The powers that be are waiting until it's we're so desensitized that it won't make that much of a difference. Who knows?
I disagree.
Ooh.
I foresee, like, I just look at the way this, like, I mean, granted, I'm viewing it from an American lens, you know. We're having a lot of trouble accepting people as it is without aliens. I find it hard to believe that aliens will pop up and everyone will just be like, eh. Like, I feel like that might be part of the reason, like, if they exist, it's so heavily kept under wraps, because if, like, people were getting hysterical purely on the theory that there could have been aliens.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine how hysterical they might get if they find out. And this goes back to my comment about human beings have a tendency to fear what they don't understand. And I feel if that were to come to light, that, there are these gray aliens that exist and we've been experimenting on and they exist somewhere in our universe, people would lose it.
What would that look like? It could look like a couple of things, right? Losing it. It could be, oh yeah, you know, complete chaos, utter chaos, no order, no law, because, hey, why?
Yeah.
We're not alone. We're going to die. We're going to be destroyed. Or, you know, you put in the blank, whatever you think the result is going to be. Or it could be that now that we're faced with aliens, we sort of come together as the human race and we make a stand and perhaps not be puppets of some system.
Exactly.
Maybe that's the scary thing. Maybe that's why it's kept under wraps.
Yeah, maybe. I think it also really depends on kind of like what the situation were to be in which aliens would reveal themselves.
I guess what I find interesting about how people would react to knowing that there are aliens out there or among us is I do agree that there would be some sense of panic or chaos, but I wonder where it would be directed, because I think you could direct it at the extraterrestrials or at the governments of the world. And I wonder if is it both, is one more than the other, because I think that it could be framed in a number of ways. I think that might affect kind of like the chain reaction of events that would follow.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Logically, you would hope that we wouldn't direct our panic and anger towards the aliens because they could probably eviscerate us. And that wouldn't be logical. But then since when are human beings logical? So that's probably what would happen.
I would love to see it be like a moment for human beings to like appreciate their existence. Like, I think you mentioned it earlier, like kind of have it be a rallying call for humans to kind of be like, look, y'all aren't as special as you thought you were, but here we both are in the same universe, and now we have to coexist. It would be super rad if that could be a moment for humans to like humble themselves and step back and say, like, we aren't the only person in this subway car or on this bus right now. You know what I mean? We can't just do whatever we want.
Right. And also just, you know, like our own perceived differences, like realize, hey, we're not that different. It doesn't matter like what color you are or what gender or how you identify. You know, at the end of the day, like if any of us are standing next to an anthill or two and we look down and we see ants, we don't stand there and say, oh, look at that lovely black ant with the intricate designs and compare it to that lovely red ant. No, they're all ants. So maybe the aliens would just see us all as all human beings, you know, and maybe we can start seeing ourselves as that as well.
Would be lovely.
What I find too funny is how the way that we see ourselves, it would be beneficial to have more of a view that we are part of the universe reflecting back on itself. I think there tends to be a separation of us in the universe, like we're different entities. And I mean, I'm of the belief that we're a mirror of the universe, like we're a part of it. There's just a separation rather than that sense of like interconnectedness.
Yeah.
Kind of like Star Trek, right? Where, you know, you go out and, you know, human beings, we've gotten our stuff together, we're all united and everything. And we go out there and, oh, gee, we find out that we're all pretty much the same, even if we're from different galaxies or whatever. So it could be probably the beginning of that as well. Our entry into the Star Trek world of, you know, being able to be accepted by others out there.
Yeah.
And what a good world that would be.
Yeah.
What a lovely world that would be.
Yeah.
Let's start with our country. Let's start about being accepting of the people in our country first.
Yeah.
Our country, our neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even.
You know, we've got a lot of work to do if we want to get to that ideal level that we just talked about. We've got a little bit of work to get there, but you know, I for one, I kind of think that it's possible. So I think I'm an optimist. I think you guys are too.
I would describe all three of us that way
Yes.
as well.
I feel like it's the only way you can be in this
Yeah.
situation. Otherwise, what we're gonna sit here and just
mope.
accept.
Yeah.
Like no.
We're screwed.
Yeah. No.
I just hope human beings can come to their
No
senses
time.
and be like,
No
oh
time
wait,
for that.
let's be nice to each
Yeah.
other. Like,
Well, hey guys, I really enjoyed our time together. I really enjoyed not just talking to you guys, but getting to know you guys.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
It was a blast.
Stream Somerset's new album on all major music streaming platforms and find them on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and on their website, somersetband.com. That's SOMERSET band.com. Thank you so much for joining our little podcast here. Thanks for sharing your music. Good luck with your debut album. I hope it just like burns everything in sight with its hotness.
Yes.
And thank you guys out there in listener land and watcher land for checking out another episode of Odddio. And we'll see you next time. Ciao.
peace.
Thanks for listening, folks. Get a full transcript of this episode along with phrases to Google, links, and more at odddio.com, ODDDIO.com. And while you're there, sign up for our official email list to get first dibs on new stuff. Also, like, subscribe, and click the notification bell on our YouTube channel for the latest videos.
Odddio is a registered subsidiary of Papa Grace and Oshun 55 LLC, all rights reserved.